So last confirmation, this is basic Peoria speaking first of all time. That being said, time will start my first word. We negate. Contention 1 is trust. Netanyahu is limiting escalation to avoid full-scale war due to U.S. support. Rubin 24. Netanyahu is willing to strike. Rather, officials suggest a more limited counterstrike aimed at preventing a full-scale war. Netanyahu is more in a moderated place, softening Biden's decision to send a powerful missile defense system to Israel. Israel views U.S. commitment to Taiwan as a signal of commitment to them. His 23. Toward Taiwan, Washington's decision to not intervene heightened doubts about U.S. response to Israel concerning U.S. commitments to events. A perceived lack of support will contribute to deteriorating confidence in U.S. support. Thus, the afflux in Israeli escalation through preemptive strikes. McConnell 10. Greatest threat to stability is Israel. Israel needs constant reassurance, constant affirmation. The threat of Israel is turning itself into a nuclear-armed desperado striking at the will of the oil states. And defense aid is bundled. Title 24. The U.S. approved aid for Taiwan, which includes billions for Israel. Aid for Taiwan and Israel were combined in a single package. Illustrates how the issues are linked for the U.S. Extinction results. Avery 20. Attack would extend to a large-scale war, introducing nukes. Russia and China, allies of Iran, draw in nukes used intentionally or miscalculation. Global famine will result, it would destroy civilization. Independently, U.S. policy causes Japan to militarize. Wadsworth 19. If U.S. actions discredit reliability, Japan move forward with conventional strike, even if discussion requiring coercive security. That causes war. Bat 19. Military, more autonomous Japan would alarm China. Raise prospect of military clash with China increases likelihood of great power conflict. Contention 2 is markets. Currently, Leak 24 reports Taiwan's GDP expanded 4%. However, cyber attacks pose a risk. February 22 explains China, Russia, and North Korea all have the will to conduct cyber attacks against semiconductor firms. Ransomware hackers attack semiconductor companies. U.S. support has protected the status quo. Seville 24 confirmed U.S. provides timely support by sending the best team to hunt down hackers, also working to increase cyber resilience by conducting exercises to prepare Taiwan. In U.S. doctrine, military support includes cybersecurity. Schoenberg 13 writes national military strategy to direct cyber command. The NMS directs military support in response to cyber incidents. Not only that, but direct military support is keeping market confidence. Cunningham 24 writes U.S. security presence is widely viewed as the main factor for a conflict in global economic affairs. Indeed, Blake Smith brief explains markets react well in advance of actual official disruptions and shifts into flight safety mode immediately. Funds would sell large portions of Taiwan holdings. Uncertainty about U.S. military amplify early market reactions. Instant scenarios about defines. Uncertainty affect global supply chain demand. Semiconductor industry will be lost to be strongly felt in other parts of the world. Major economies heavily depend on Taiwan. Overall, Walter Smith quantifies disruption to Taiwan's semiconductor industry could affect 8% of America's GDP. Economic decline cascades. Walter 24 confirms economic decline will be catalyst for major conflicts, trouble foods, value in the 1930s, rise in national related trade disputes, battle for control of resources such as oil, rare earths could intensify. There are flashpoints that could bring powers into conflict. Taiwan, North Korea, the U.S., and Russia, China, and India. Conflicts could erupt into influenced by economic factors. And after defines the next great power war involved nuclear weapons that can end civilization. Contention 3 is proliferation. U.S. and Taiwan security relations remain strong. Venture confirms Taiwan's combat effectiveness is improved thanks to its deepening security partnership with the U.S. Lacking for protection, the act forces Taiwan to proliferate. Mr. Comment 24 writes, from Taiwan's perspective, a nuclear arsenal would be the ultimate guarantor of national sovereignty if the U.S. was the country. Thus, Schwartzman concludes, without U.S. military protection, Taiwan would build nuclear weapons, something it has the wealth and technology to do quickly and has explored in the past. Nuclear proliferation provokes China. Mr. Comment 24 explains, Taiwan's nuclear weapons program initiates escalation with China. Taiwan's pursuit of a nuclear bomb would be one of the greatest crises of post-war Asia. For China, a bomb would be justification for an attack on the island. That's existential. Blue 23 concludes, invasion of Taiwan could reasonably escalate. The U.S. could find itself compelled to attack bases in China. China could strike U.S. bases. Chances of nuclear exchange are significant. It's an existential danger. Independently, Pax 15 writes, accidental nuclear war due to false intelligence, nuclear malfunctions, or the risk of theft by non-state actors are too deadly chance. And Constructive concludes, a nuclear war would create an environment too cruel to food, humans would vanish. Contention 4 is deterrence. China could attack Taiwan quickly. Lee 24 explains, China views Taiwan as its own territory and about to take further action against Taiwan. With Beijing building up capabilities, readiness is high and they can switch from drills to war in no time. Despite this, U.S. support guarantees peace. IC 24. Support to Taiwan is necessary to make clear to China the cost of invasion. To deter Beijing, Washington must ensure China is not confident in its ability to conduct an invasion at acceptable cost. Further, Cunningham 24 confirms control the global economic power and political interests enable Beijing to throw its weight on America's periphery. Military power deters Beijing, making clear that the U.S. and its allies are ready and able to attack any attempt to seize Taiwan. Imperial Cunningham 24 finds the U.S. has helped prevent conflicts in Taiwan Strait for decades by creating deterrence. And when we decreased military in the past, China got more aggressive. Bloomington 11. Washington basically abandoned its commitment to Taiwan. China reacted to these concessions by pressing territorial claims. Therefore, affirming guarantees Taiwan war that leads to extinction for boot and star. Thus, we are so proud to negate.
Okay, it's in the speech form. Okay, hold on. It says it's updating. See that it says uploading 100%, but it's not doing it.
Yeah, I got you. You're all good. You're all good. combination.
What?
One doing this thing.
I can try. It says it's 100% uploaded, but it's not showing up. I can try re-uploading.
Maybe if you refresh and upload it again.
That would probably be good. Yeah. 1 second.
I'm gonna pop it back up.
Or advanced private form.
Oh, I know why. Something left, so my hotspot cut off. Never mind. It should work in a second. He just came back. Okay, that's it. Okay. Sorry.
You're good.
Let me know when everyone's good. Okay. Also, my voice sucks a little, so clear me if you need to. Everyone good? Perfect. See what is Ukraine? Russia's off the perks, Power 11-20. Russia's accelerating gains, forces 6 times more territory in 2024. Ukraine's running out of time. McGee 11-6. Ukraine's losing winter will be critical. Russia destroyed the country's energy. Millions of Ukrainians without electricity. Getting missiles is critical to protect them from this scenario. U.S. aid is key. Gaza 24. War could end soon only if Western allies strengthen weapons donations. And York 11-21. Russia launched a new IRBM, but Ukraine has withstood attacks from larger warheads. This weapon will not be a game changer. Ukraine trades off with Taiwan. Poznansky 24. Systems are limited. There's competition between Taiwan and Ukraine over missiles. They need more. Klob 11-19. To impose costs, Ukraine would need large stockpiles, which doesn't have because U.S. supplies are limited. Ukraine is a litmus test. Poznansky prematurely abandoning would raise doubts about whether the U.S. would intervene in war with Taiwan, a signal to Iran and NOCO. That goes nuclear. Shalom 22. Kremlin could then demand surrender from Georgia, Moldova, the Baltic. Moscow or Washington will miscalculate. In nuclear war, Putin says encourages Israel, China, and NOCO to continue nuclear extortion. CG is diplomacy. Biden wants diplomacy, Hanukkah 24, U.S. pushing China to arms talk, they've signaled willingness. Trump 2, Liang 11-14, Trump will create opportunities for nuclear disarmament to bring China into arms control. China also wants diplomacy. Singleton 11-14, after Trump's victory, China's leaders struck a conciliatory tone calling for cooperation. U.S. presence has prevented diplomacy. Sanger 24, Beijing calls the conversation with the U.S. about missile tests or setting up hotlines. Cited arms sales to Taiwan. Until we address tensions, they will choose not to continue conversations. Talks are effective. Lazar 10, U.S. and China agree to reopen military contracts. This means that Taiwan's request to buy an F-16 has been put on hold. China would immediately break them off the sale were approved. This is empirically true. Zhao 24. China and the U.S. made a declaration in 1998 agreeing to detarget nuclear weapons, defeating tensions. A similar pledge could be made today. We're running out of time. Nan 24. Restraining fragments of U.S. arms sales to Taiwan send mixed signals when Beijing military is increasingly aggressive. Absent actual escalation. Michelson 24. Washington and Taipei launched an initiative to create siege zones by 2025. Part of strategy to counter invasion of Taiwan causes a first strike. Johnson 20. UUV storms have a destabilizing effect even if not intended. The perception would create incentives to strike first. China's nuclear subs targeted by the U.S. And Roy 24. War's hardly compelling given Japanese military resistance. The war would disrupt economic activity and stimulate increased inter-China cooperation. China could suffer sanctions. Diplomacy is needed. NYC 23. Arms control talks avoid nuclear conflict, danger of Chinese expansion. As the U.S. and Russia expand, unpredictable void detention. The SCS, Taiwan, Ukraine. Nuclear buildup was triggering a global crisis. Sharing of info is critical to avoid catastrophe by accident. Extinction. Starting Chev 8. In the nuclear explosion, anti-gravity strains condense air begins to rise in tornado-like columns. The atmosphere may be sucked into space. Everyone will die. Relations are impactful. There's U21. Collaboration is effective for climate, health, biodiversity, and sustainable future will not be possible without the engagement of the U.S. and China. C3 is the economy. U.S. recession is incoming. Economist 1022. Since the Fed began raising interest rates, firms have been shielded from the rising cost of financing. This holiday is coming to an end. American firms owe $2.5 trillion worth of bonds. The outcome can slow America's profit juggernaut. We're running out of time. Ramstead 1023. Inflation did its job as investors focus on rising U.S. deficit. Government has tapped the brakes on spending. A reckoning over borrowing is near. Trump won't change that. Altus 1113. Post-election markets have investors cheering. However, economists is bearish about America's debt. Euphoria won't last long. And Buckwall 24. Voters think the economy is trash. Majority believe it's on the wrong track. That triggers recession. David 22. Fear of recession impacts the public's willingness to open their wallets. A self-fulfilling prophecy. We're wasting money on Taiwan. Yamazaki 22. Biden signed an $858 billion defense bill with Taiwan providing billions in aid over the coming years. It's uniquely key. Lin 23. U.S. media is increasingly reporting on Taiwan. There's more coverage that impacts policies. Spending must be reined in. Firth 15. When governments announce spending cuts, consumer confidence may rise, especially during an economic slump. It's key to investment. Adrian 24. Loose fiscal policy and create investor doubts around sustainability leading to higher term premium. That drives growth. Westfall 21. Increasing confidence increases spending. Manufacturers increase production. Banks extend more credit, which goes global. Rizal 20. U.S. economy accounts for 15% of global GDP. A crucial import market. Economic crisis. The U.S. spill over Bradford 13. 9 million people can fall back into poverty in the event of an economic shock. Moreover, SAC 24. Most chips are produced in Taiwan. U.S. policymakers worried the U.S. would lose access to semiconductor turn to industrial policy. The CHIPS Act is insufficient. The U.S. can supplement by pursuing regulatory changes. This is historically true. Crane 23. $166 billion for the CHIPS Act. 65% of investments were for expansion that fuels growth. Klein 20. Investment in semiconductor development propel tremendous U.S. growth and job creation. Cut the rest of the doc. Go to their case. I'll give you a second. On hegemony 1, non-unique, Trump makes this terminally non-unique. He's threatening every single alliance we have, which likely also triggers their perceptual link because it means that it will collapse regardless. And second, more military weapons plus 8 for Israel can happen because there can be a trade-off between two. And okay, that's good.
Can we get that card? If there was one?
Yeah. Wait, no, I just read 2 analytics.
Okay.
Good for cross.
Yeah. You got the first question.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Yeah. So can you just explain the last 2 analytics you read?
One more time?
Can you just explain the last 2 analytics you read?
Okay. The first analytic I read on trust is that if your argument is perceptual, the fact that Trump is historically decommitted from alliances means the link likely triggers inevitably. It is your perceptual argument. The second is that the U.S. has like a good number of weapons and aid, which means that we can do both at the same time. What's it? Israel and Taiwan. I got a question.
Yeah.
Trust, and you might need your laptop for this.
Okay.
The HSIAO evidence. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah.
So one of your first piece of evidence.
Sure.
Can you read me a line that indicates what the tag says? Because the tag says that Israel influences Taiwan.
Sure. Let's see. Let's go with Israel. The second, you said Sal, right?
Yeah.
All right. It says.
I can tell you where
Washington's decision to not intervene directly contributed to heightened doubts about the U.S. likelihood of intervention.
Real quick, let me read a quick quote.
Okay.
Okay. The U.S. response to Israel, depending on the scale and level of support, will likely have a reverberating effect on public perception within Taiwan. Your evidence concludes the opposite of the tag. Like, it says it's reverse causal. What is the link? Like, I read a direct line or stretch, and you read, like, bits of highlighted
I know,
stuff.
I read the line, but...
Yeah, and the very next line says that the actual truth is reverse causal.
Sure. I would like to do the same thing. Okay, you have finished the question? Like, you want the understanding, or I read the line? What do you want?
Take the question.
Yeah, okay, so you're gonna need a laptop for this one. Let's do the same thing. Take your laptop. Yeah. So let's go here, right? If you want to look it up.
My laptop's on.
All right, bet. So let's look at Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Go to your evidence about Ukraine.
Give me an author.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you an author. The one about
It's Kubo.
Kubo. Yeah, go there.
Yeah.
Read the last line.
Kubo? Who's Kubo?
Kulub.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Read the last line.
Oh, yeah. The last one, the Kulub evidence, says that Ukraine lacks personnel. That's exactly our argument. There will always
No.
be...
I want you to read the exact line. I want you
Dude, like, I just summarized the line.
No,
Every-
you just
like-
told me to read the
like-
line. You just told me to read the line. I want you to read the line.
Wait, I just summarized the line. I agree, you're right. It says there's a lack of personnel. That's our argument. There are...
It doesn't say that. It says
Alright,
the
you're
lack
right.
of weapons is not going to be able to be overcome. It specifically says it can't be overcome.
What? Moreover, the biggest obstacle Ukraine faces is a lack of trained and ready personnel.
Continue
That's not-
the line. It says it can't be overcome.
Yeah, and our argument indicates that it's not just weapons. It's not just like a gun that you fire. Our argument is that the only way Ukraine overcomes structural inevitabilities, i.e., having less troops and having probably worse or less weapons, is with long-range missiles. That is the argument. It allows them to strike deep into Russian territory.
Your
which is
own
the
evidence
only
says it
strong-
can't be overcome.
Yeah, like traditional weapons that it has right now.
No, like
That's
by
why we're
any
affirming-
means. By any means.
Evidence does not say that. That's
Yeah,
why
it
we're
does.
affirming the resolution to give them weapons they don't currently have.
That's evidence doesn't say that.
I'll send it on.
Okay, sorry. Just to make sure there's like no clipping stuff y'all got, the cards that I cut are gone. I don't
Was it
wanna
just
hit
the
it.
last two?
I just don't want to hit a clipping violation.
Yeah, we won't do that too long.
Okay. It's Goldstein down. So it's the last 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 cards.
Yeah, it's Goldstein. Goldstein, Reed, Brown, Rand. Last 4. And I didn't cut any lines for anything else. Just like I did not read those cards.
Okay. Alright.
Let's go to one.
I'm sending the rebuttal on.
You have the document.
Yes.
Drop again?
Yeah, I just renamed it to rebuttal basis. I was not like,
Glad to know the document is prepared now.
and it's sent.
Does it start with AT Ukraine?
Yes.
I'm good. Oh yeah, we're good.
All right. It's going to start on our case real briefly and then go to theirs. Everybody good to go? On our case, they say it's not unique because Trump decommitted. One, they don't say what he decommitted out of, and secondly, Trump didn't pull out of any security agreement, so it's inherently different. And our one and see how Evan and Walbert Evans says that Taiwan military presence is uniquely key. That should be enough. On their case, on Ukraine. One, turn at A cause escalation because it puts Putin on the back foot. Extinction. Libra 23. Russia's doctrine calls for escalation to deter threats to security. If Ukraine shifts significantly in favor of Kiev, Putin initiating nuclear war. Ukraine for national security interest based on territorial claims in the of NATO. Publicly framed war and existential terms are tied by the existence of our country. If escalation trigger NATO attack, Moscow could use nukes again too. Biden prohibits use of military systems means A is ineffective. Bloomberg 24. Biden administration supply Ukraine with missiles, but prohibit their most effective use of preventing Ukraine from effectively counterattacking. 3 and alt causes mean Ukraine loses their Kulov. Link evidence says lack of personnel can't be overcome by more weapons. Basis reads green. Kulov 24. The biggest obstacle Ukraine faces is lack of personnel, a challenge that neither the U.S. nor its Ukraine allies can solve, and that all the weapons of the world won't overcome. 4. Russia would expand past Ukraine. Correct 22. It's unlikely Russia would expand if Ukraine were resolved. Exclusion from the global economy make it impossible to finance, not to mention local resistance. High stakes in particular Ukraine minority areas directly affect identity. Not all land is equal. 5. Ukraine victory is temporary. Came in 22. Ukraine victory details a nebulous day after. Russia will not acquiesce. Victories will more intransigence. Russia will use a narrative of humiliation to stir support for a renewed effort. Putin will not let go of Ukraine. 6. And it's not a litmus test. 2 years of support to Ukraine shows the U.S. met its commitments and defended the country. Allies know that. 7. Also, not winning time frame. Even if winter is critical, it does not say Ukraine will lose in that time, and invasion of other countries happens way later. Russia will need to reconvene to make new military plans, recover its economy, and rebuild its military base. On diplomacy. On the general diplomacy link. 1. Not unique. China and the U.S. are cooperating now. Chief from a week ago. The China-U.S. relationship, which remains stable on the whole, have worked out through consultations, guiding principles, jointly brought dialogue back on track. Opposed states their evidence. 2. Turning military presence gives us a bargaining chip, allows us to demand concessions from China and negotiate from a position of strength. Thus, Monster 20. The most effective U.S. strategy is to combine diplomatic initiatives with a stronger deterrent posture in the region. If we affirm we are pulling out military without it being conditional on any type of diplomacy, prefer empirics. Obama decreased military net killer relations. Blumenthal 11. Obama basically banned Taiwan. China reacted by rejecting calls for better relations with the U.S. 3. Affirming kills diplomacy. Shelley 11. Any security system was simply a politically charged debate in Washington over policy towards China, changing policy due to poisons during the domestic politics of U.S.-China policy. 4. Threats of stopping diplomacy over Taiwan are symbolic. Bremer 24. The Chinese said there would be measures of support for Taiwan. We said that's symbolic. China's not the Americans back. 5. And this loose on time frame takes time before we enter meaningful talks with China because they would be skeptical at diplomacy of the U.S. We are undergoing a leadership change because they are afraid of policy switching rapidly. And they don't have a specified scenario. Only this evidence says China's becoming more aggressive. It would take years for legislative approvals and appropriate military buildup to occur before invasion happens. On UUVs. 1. Their Johnson Evans also says ISR, UAVs, USVs, which have all been deployed to Taiwan in the past, they cause the same scenario. We should have seen the impact. By the way, on the time frame weighing, China would attack as soon as possible if we threatened them, which is what military presence is doing. 2. Taiwan built these systems on their own anyway. ISRs, UAVs, USVs. Taiwan builds these systems on their own anyway. Lynch 24. Taiwan's drone industry is second in the world, aiming to advance AI applications drone. 3. The Johnson M6 Charlie speculative does not say UAVs will guarantee a preemptive Chinese attack or that it's a red line, but that incentive may be created. We see China's no first use policy means it's much more likely they don't preemptively attack. And the scenario always lose some time frame. It says drones arrive by August of 2025, which happens after our scenario. On the Roy Evans, it says U.S. and Japanese resistance is key to preempting war. We agree. China just doesn't think that resistance is credible if we suddenly take out military after we've been slowly increasing for the past decade. On the economy. 1. The Unique Evidence does not say the word recession. Prefer post-state specificity in government data. Remember from 4 days ago. Strength of the economy. Recent economic data suggests growth, resilient Powell suggests the economy accelerating 2025 means clearly what voters thought a couple months ago isn't affecting economic stability, and they do continue to spend, and voters' perceptions have changed by now. 2. The government just spend that money elsewhere. It's not like our foreign aid budget as a whole goes down. Instead, we spend it to other places. They literally say in their case that we move aid from Taiwan to Ukraine, which means spending broadly stays the same. 3. And the public knows when we spend a lot regardless. It's not just about Taiwan. Publicity exists around every large bill the government passes. The public also knows we earn $36 trillion of debt, so $858 billion Taiwan does not change anything. And their fourth link evidence is speculative. It says consumer confidence may rise because of government spending cuts, but there's no warrant why, and $858 billion is not enough to shift voter perceptions. So there are no empirics that pass bills changes to a large extent. The CHIPS Act was not a decrease in spending. 5. Their agent link evidence also makes no sense. There's no contextualization of what loose fiscal policy means. Evidence and warrants are terrible on this argument. On the semiconductors link, it makes no sense. No clear connection to the resolution of how military affected, and the Sachs evidence says the U.S. only pursue this type of investment when worried about losing access to semiconductors because of a China-Taiwan conflict, not simply military investment. On the time frame this argument just loses, the public doesn't immediately react to changes in policy. It takes time before policies become salient in minds of voters and more time for them to then start changing their spending habits definitively, especially towards spending boom around Christmas.
Yeah.
125. Oh yeah, I'll do it. Okay, Doc is. Doc's it. It's called final A2 basis. We'll send a mark after.
Our case. Actually, I'll take it.
That was 130. 130.
Actually, or just. On Ukraine, we'll concede that aid is ineffective. That means Russia doesn't have to escalate or launch a nuclear war because they'll win the war anyway. On diplomacy, they say China and U.S. cooperate now. It's not specific to arms control. Our evidence from Al Jazeera, for Unique 7's case, says that they don't want to cooperate on arms control, which is our link. They say military presence gives a bargaining chip. Not true. They have conceded that whenever we resume military sales, then we stop arms control, which means the only risk of offense to have arms control talk, which is what our link is about. Which is what our link is about, is to affirm. They say perverse, and I'm curious, but our evidence, Unique 7, says that Trump wants to cooperate and that China is willing to cooperate with Trump specifically. So the embodiment here does not matter. They say affirming kills relations. This is not specific. It just says it causes a politically charged debate in Washington. But insofar as they can see that Trump does want to cooperate, it doesn't matter. There's no implication to why this politically charged debate would change anything. They say threats to stopping diplomacy or Taiwan are symbolic. No, they've conceded our empirics that talks stop whenever we do sell, which means it's not symbolic and China is willing to take actions. On our UUV link, they say our Johnson Evans says other things. Yes, but it gives unique warrants as why UUVs are different. For example, they take away China's first strike capabilities in land and sea, and they also take away their second strike capabilities because these drones can be used on land, which is conceded. They say Taiwan builds these systems on their own anyway. The Johnson evidence is specific in saying that specifically the U.S. would scare them because the U.S. is a far more powerful actor, and our evidence says that Taiwan is doing so in combination with the U.S., which means they definitely need U.S. support to do this. They say that Johnson evidence is incredibly speculative. This is not a response. It says that the UUVs, no evidence is to definitively say that this will guarantee. It's just warranting as to why it will happen. They can see that China will lose first strike capabilities, which is why they have an incentive to. It quote says that it literally says that they will become scared, which is why they're more inclined to launch the strike. They say the Roy evidence says that U.S.-Japanese resistance is key to preventing war. This is just an extension of credit, and it's not implicated to the UUV link specifically. And on top of that, they say they can outweigh on time frame. But one, their time frame is not definitive, and two, ours doesn't just happen in 2025. It's a preemptive attack, which means it happens before that. It's not comparative. On the argument about economy, they say growth now. No, they've conceded the Altus evidence that even if it's high right now, that's just because Trump got elected. But they've conceded that next year that companies will have to pay $2.5 billion a lot of money in bonds between the economy tank. They've also conceded that consumers think that that recession will happen, and they've conceded that consumers think that then recession will inevitably happen, which means even if we don't solve for the perception scenario, which is non-unique to their econ argument too, because the perceptual recession means it happens no matter what. We will go for the semiconductors link. Their only response is that there's no clear connection to resolution. Yes, there is. If we pull out of military support of Taiwan, investors think we will lose access to semiconductors, which is why we increase it in case and concede. They say public takes time to react to policies. No, they can react to policies before they've even been passed. Just talks about, and the government can trigger perception, which means our argument does happen on time frame. On the argument about Israel, they've conceded our second analytic that if we just decrease funding for Taiwan, it means we can pass more aid for Israel, which solves back for perception. Their evidence is also bad and says that Israel influences Taiwan and not the other way around. And military presence and funding to Israel literally checks back. And deterrence by punishment solves this. Harris 21 writes that deterrence by punishment does not rely on military approach while capable of reassuring allies while convincing Taiwan and China the U.S. is committed to freeze U.S. military from bases that may make great power war more likely, which means we have other way to solve back. They say defense aid bundle. This is not a link. We can just not bundle the aid and it's the only group because they're both under military bills. We can pass any other military bill to any other country. They say Japan militarized, just cross-fly the stuff that Trump makes our allies scared, and deterrence by punishment solves. And Japan doesn't want to proliferate. Akiyama 24 says Japan's depend on the U.S. to deter 70% promote nuclear disarmament, cut the card there, and it's likely not unique if we pull out other places than should have happened. On the argument about cyber, this the one Taiwan developed its own defenses. Loki 24 writes that Taiwan has formulated its own cybersecurity, expanding at an annual rate of 14%, and private companies mean cybersecurity haven't the way nice 23 writes that the delegation of companies that want to explore commercial cybersecurity sales, and the new uniqueness of because it's perceptual recession, which means just non-UC argument regardless. On the argument about perception, Trump definitely creates a perception because investors don't know what he's going to do. There's a lot of uncertainty, which means it's likely not unique. And on argument about prolif, no Taiwan prolif, one mentioned 24 writes that Taipei has reduced reliance on nuclear energy reactors offline next year. Island relied on U.S. for reactor fuel support until its guilt against nuclear power following mass protests, and second response that their own evidence concedes that the U.S. can prevent them from doing this either through sanctions or just saying by deterrence by punishment solves. On the last argument about deterrence, one, the kill switch solves is 10.3 as chip companies can still kill switch. China invades Taiwan TMC, which means China never has incentive to do, and Oman 22 says China would need over 1.2 million soldiers for any thousand ships would be required to land all these forces, and doing so would take weeks. Okay.
Okay, wait, can we get a mark doc?
Yeah. I'll just see that.
I'm gonna cut like the analytics. You just like cut the evidence. Can we do deterrence? No. Just some. On cyber, I just read low G and NS. Yeah, can you cut the evidence for that? Wait, let me know when we do that.
Okay, dog.
Okay, I'm on something.
One second. Okay, block is in.
Alright, we'll let you know when we get it.
Something really sorry there, but all cards are.
Okay, we're gonna take a.
wait, let's get the doc first.
It's already in.
Oh, it's in?
Yeah, I
Is it?
Analytics aren't in there, but.
It's called final. It's called final.
Yeah, we see it. We see it. We're gonna take running prep starting now.
Running over Taiwan, and the Deterrence, and the investor plot link on uncertainty. All they say is that Trump creates uncertainty. They dropped a this that right now investments
Okay,
increasing, and that rhetoric is not as important as military. On Deterrence, the kill switch is Act 23 is priced in. 1.2 million solves. China can just use missiles.
Go in and out.
All right, that was 19 seconds. All right, good with just sitting them.
Yeah.
So, on this argument about UUVs,
Yeah.
so you say UUVs are different. So if UAVs can go overhead and are also powered by AI, which is what Johnson talks about, isn't that also just as much of a threat to China?
Yeah, I've been playing like Call of Duty. UAVs can't do anything to neutralize the weapons. They just detect where they are. But the UUVs are unique in the fact that they can render these weapons and submarines ineffective.
UAVs can attack weapons.
UAVs are a radar system.
Unmanned aerial vehicles, they're not a radar system. ISR is a radar system. UAVs are not.
Yeah, they use radar technology to signal where
Right, but it's not like that's all they do.
They-
If you
okay.
look at the Johnson evidence, it says UAVs, USVs, and ISR.
If everyone just looks at the Johnson evidence, it's very specific on the fact that UUVs are quite unique. Like the evidence, I can read a line of this. Wait, can you read me the line about the UU, like everything else?
Yeah, sure, let me go.
No, I'll read you the line about UUVs.
All right. Okay. So that the first line of the card in Johnson talks about unmanned underwater vessels, which you were talking about UUVs, unmanned surface vessels, USVs, what we talk about, and UAVs that are all supported by AI swarms.
It have to be deployed simultaneously.
Yeah, so if these are already deployed, the link should have triggered.
It says these things have to be deployed with UUVs.
It does not say that. Where does it say that they have to be deployed with UAVs?
UAVs supported by AI-enabled intra-swarm communication and ISR systems could be deployed simultaneously.
Could be deployed,
in
yeah.
both
So if you
offensive and
if you
defensive
read what says
anti-submarine.
have a destabilizing effect, it says conventional capabilities such as drone swarms will likely have a destabilizing effect at a strategic level. Any drone swarm. It doesn't specify UUVs there. That's just cut to say that it is, but it's not. It's also USVs and
Read
UAVs.
the line that says AI-enhanced UUVs could, for example, theoretically threaten China's nuclear attack submarines targeted by the U.S. Like, the evidence is quite explicit and saying you would have to read warrants that everything else is the same exact thing as a UUV.
We do because it can still attack a nuke, and it's still powered by AI, which is what it's talking about, and your evidence says drone swarms.
It literally says to be deployed simultaneously.
It says swarm sorties, which sorties means any type of swarm.
Yeah, you could
Even if swarm sorties were not intended of disarming a first type, the perception alone. It's talking about all types of swarms. It's not specific to UUVs.
The first two lines say that the swarm would happen with UUVs.
But it's, we agree it's a potential scenario. Our argument is that your evidence includes other types of vehicles that are also types of swarms that trigger your link, so we should have seen it happen because it was already been deployed.
Could be deployed simultaneously. Like,
It says could be deployed simultaneously, but if you look at the evidence, it says any type of swarm could cause the link, can have a destabilizing effect.
What line is that?
Even if swarm sorties were not intended of a disarming first strike, the perception alone, and then you go into what you highlight, would create incentives to strike first, etc. That's cross though. So we use 18 seconds, so we have 2:42 left. We're gonna take that starting now.
Markets, I'm just gonna invest them. Do the say it happens immediately. And
the only thing I do is Taiwan Trump's rhetoric doesn't matter for these guys.
And they dropped our uniqueness. That doesn't, regardless of Trump's rhetoric, investments increase. Okay. Just say they dropped our uniqueness. On proliferation, concede no turns. They literally have no turns anywhere. Concede trust, concede cyber, concede proliferation.
Okay, concede trust, no turns, you said?
Concede trust, no turns. Concede markets, cyber, no turns. Go for the investor plow link. Concede proliferation, no turns.
Listen. Concede the trust. You want to say concede Taiwan prolif? Taiwan prolif?
Taiwan prolif, drop Taiwan prolif. On deterrence, they say kill switch on incentive sacks. 23 sets the price down.
I have that.
And then China can just use missiles to attack. And secondly, China thinks it's not going to be a long, drawn-out war. It's going to be as many people because even military presence is gone.
Okay.
On their case,
And like about the capability, we have the evidence saying it happens. They have the ability.
Yeah.
Okay, now what are you saying their case?
On their case, Obama wanted to cooperate. That's what the evidence says. That's why he pulled out of it. On diplomacy, Obama wanted to cooperate. That's why he pulled out. But China didn't. Only specific empirics is Blumenthal. Secondly, they concede that China won't want to negotiate now because of a leadership change. Time frame Wang completely dropped. No responses Lang. No responses Lang.
What else should I read? On the economy thing.
On economy, evidence says that Powell believes the economy will accelerate in 2025, which means it's not just now. It's not just because of Trump. It's also into 2025. It's more specific and more recent.
The Sachs evidence says that the only time that they invest.
Okay, and then also on the economy, they've dropped that it does take time to affect voters.
Okay, yeah.
Policies don't just voters just don't hear about policies immediately. And
It's
on the UUVs,
it's all the Wang.
I'll put the Wang. No, we'll write it down. I'll put the Wang. I'll put our Wang under it. I'll just trust. Okay, on UUVs, their Johnson evidence says all types of swarms.
Yeah, I got that.
And it is by August 2025. China's not going to feel threatened unless the drones are deployed.
Yeah.
Not threatened unless drones deployed. Okay. I'll put all the way in the dock.
Okay, listen, what are you going to say about the semiconductor thing?
No, they would. That we're always going to increase spending. Spending doesn't change. I don't even know, to be honest. Just go for the uniqueness evidence and say it does take time to change voters' minds.
All right, I'll reply.
What's the order, and I'm looking for a doc.
There's going to be some new evidence, but
Okay, please upload a doc.
yeah. Okay, I'll do that. It's just one piece of evidence.
Do you want me to put it in or you got it?
I mean, I can put it in.
Okay.
Yeah. Here we go. All right. You can see I'm just
I'm just spacing out.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah.
I'm not like.
All right. Should be put it in doc real quick. All right. Should be in now. Wait a second. Sorry about this. Now it should be in. Okay, I didn't name it, but it's called entitled document. That's the piece of evidence we're reading. That's new. It's going to be, did everyone get the shot? Okay. Order is going to be starting on arguments, going to weighing, then going to their arguments. All right. Yeah. All right. Everyone good to go? All right. On trust, they have no turns, and if they do, any defense kicks it out. On the idea about deterrence, we'll go over later. Start on markets. The entire idea of markets is conceded. We'll go for the perceptual investor link. Currently, Taiwan's economy and semiconductor industry are growing strong. However, once Blanchard finds that military support is key to market confidence, and the Cunningham evidence was conceded, saying investors believe the U.S. is there for stopping the conflict global economic numbers. It's what investors believe, irrespective of the cyber industry. Pulling out Taiwan will cause markets to react immediately, and investors to sell holdings in mass fear of conflict. The result is worldwide economic decline from delays in semiconductor production, and once Wadaco finds that such a scenario results in conflicts over resources that go nuclear, resulting in extinction through famine. This weighs on time frame. The link is perception that happens near immediately because as soon as investors believe the market will shift, they pull out of semiconductors. It takes time for the US to pass policies in semiconductors and build the industry, which means the market crashes before that, and it's a prerequisite because the market crash, we definitely can't focus on investing for semiconductors. That was fully conceded. The only thing they say the counter response is the Trump rhetoric. Trump's rhetoric is obviously not as important as military, and the uniqueness evidence was conceded that investment is going up, the GDP is expanding, cruise it doesn't matter that much. Then, on Taiwan pro-lift, concede no Taiwan pro-lift. Then go to deterrence. Extend this as well. Once he finds that China has the will to attack Taiwan and can switch from drills to war in no time. Fortunately, U.S. support deters invasion. It signals that the U.S. will defend Taiwan military and its commitments are credible. As a result, the cost is too high for China to invade, maintaining peace in the region. Thus, pulling out Taiwan will cause China to attack it to pursue reunification. The result is U.S. drawing that causes nuclear war leading to extinction through famine. Firstly, this is always on time frame. 1NC lead. I'll do the front lines first. They say kill switch forces China to never go in. The Sachs evidence indicates that this kill switch has already been factored in, and the fact is that they prefer Taiwan over the economy. Secondly, China doesn't think this war is going to be long, which is why they don't care about it because they think they can take it quickly as soon as the U.S. pulls out. On this idea about China not having enough troops, their evidence from 2022, our 2024 evidence is from this year, posted by 2 years, and it says China is ready for war and switch to war in no time from drills. On the way, firstly, this was on time from 1NC leads that China is already prepared to switch from drills to war. They're ready for an opportunity. As soon as you give them the opportunity, they go into war because of the war, and the drawings between already nuclear actors being happens very quickly. They also can see time frame weighing on diplomacy. It takes time for them to enter meaningful discussions with China because they would be skeptical of diplomacy with the U.S. We are undergoing a leadership change, and because policies will be changing. And also, the UUVs also lose on time frame. Their evidence has drones arrive by the August 25, which happens after our scenarios because they're not near immediate. China only preemptively strikes as soon as the UUVs arrive, and if it was so that they auto-preemptively strike, they would strike now because the UUVs already been quote-unquote signed into law. On the economy argument, remember, passing policies through political debate takes time. They've conceded the more that the public isn't sailing it as soon as policies are passed. They have to think about it, etc. So they have to gas information, and they aren't spending immediately. Then, go to their case on diplomacy. A couple things. Firstly, on the UUAV's link, the Johnson evidence specifically says that all types of storms cause their impact. Insofar as that is true, you're supposed to see their impact later. Also, their evidence, this is like a time for thing. The evidence is very clear in saying it's August 2025, it's not going to be there, and our scenarios happen further. First, on this idea, the Blumenthal evidence clearly indicates Obama wanted to cooperate in 2011. When he pulled out, China did not cooperate because they actually wanted to attack, they wanted to be aggressive. That's the only evidence that says Obama wanted to cooperate in specific. Then on this idea about econ, firstly, they've conceded that the Ruger evidence, which says Powell believes the economy is going to improve. It has the best data on the question, and it says that it's going to accelerate. And on this idea about investors in conflict, the semiconductor industry link doesn't matter because of the fact that it only happens when conflict occurs. The evidence is specific on that too.
Okay, taking 130, we'll take more.
Flex prep was that you read paraphrase?
No. Yes. Was it purpose?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was purpose. Yeah. The card preps.
I mean, you run your prep during all of the flights.
No.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, I was just feeling like that. It was 5 seconds. We have 125 left.
Deterrence 623 price signals what you read. On 1.2 million people, do you say China can use missiles? I think it won't be quick. I think it won't be long. What are the front lines you read?
Oh yeah. On the kill switch, I said Sachs said the China's price in, and I said even if they quote unquote has damage, China doesn't think it's going to be long, so it doesn't matter. And on I didn't say the fucking missiles thing. I said Lee 24 post dates 2 years and since China's ready for
Okay.
dog for this.
Just say it wasn't crossed up directly.
Order. Halfway neg, starting on our second contention on diplomacy. Everybody good? Fine. Going for diplomacy, you said that. I'm sorry, my timer didn't go off. I'm sorry. Going for diplomacy, you say Obama, but you've conceded that Trump is uniquely key because he's more destabilizing and less likely to have a committed stance in the region, which is why your empiric does not matter or evidence posted is specific on this question. Your only argument to this argument is terrible. Yeah, I'll extend the argument proper. Is that right now the reason why U.S. and China can't cooperate on arms control specifically is because of Taiwan. It's what China sees as the most important bearing relation. But the moment you leave the region, China thinks the U.S. is willing to cooperate, and the fact that both Trump and Biden and China all want to cooperate now because they want to ensure mutual arms control means that we're able to do arms control, which means that we are more likely to communicate with things like hotlines and tell each other when we're doing missile tests, and we're also able to not have escalation in times of war and not have nuclear weapons that otherwise risk buildup because both sides believe the other might attack them at any given time, which causes proliferation and causes escalation, which causes nuclear war, which blocks out the sun. The impact here is not great, but it's also conceded, so whatever. That's good. I'll do the wank here. One, you can see this argument also happens instantly. Talks can happen before war, and if talks happen before war, that means the war does not escalate. Because you see it with tell each other about arms tests. We also set up hotlines, which solves war. I.e., China does not want to go to war if it doesn't have to, which means that we are able to solve for the war scenario, which beats their deterrence argument. The next argument I'll go for is econ. You consider this a triad question that a recession is coming now. You say Powell thinks that it isn't, but it doesn't matter. You consider that the investors and the consumers all think the recession is coming now. That's because the economic debt is so high, and our evidence indicates the Trump high is nearly short term. But we're able to solve this with our semiconductor investment link. You just say that it's not resolutional, but you consider that investors think they will lose access, so it doesn't have to do with war. It's also a perceptual link. The logic can go both ways. So the argument proper is that investors historically think they're going to lose access to the semiconductor market, start investing domestically. The CHIPS Act was not enough because it was not a true decoupling from Taiwan. But the moment you are able to increase investment, it means the U.S. semiconductor industry sees more growth, but also drives other industries' growth because it fuels other industries and creates jobs, solve recession that otherwise puts 900 million people in poverty due to U.S. economic interconnectedness. Two pieces of weighing. One at the chart now, you can see the recession now, which means that our argument is only risk of solvency. If not going to turn this argument only defense, which is god awful. The second argument I will go for is that both arguments happen instantly. You also make perceptual weighing off of your economic argument because they're both perceptual links. So is ours, which means our recessions happen at the same time. At that point, we will say that our recession is worse. Your argument says the U.S. loses access to semiconductors, which means that it goes global. The U.S. has other things, i.e. agriculture, and also its own domestic sectors like creating products for other countries, manufacturing, etc. While Taiwan, you can see, is 100% dependent on the U.S. The global economy requires 30% of its GDP from the U.S. used as an import market, which means that our recession has a greater chance of spilling over than yours does, and that your recession does not preclude ours because the U.S. has other stuff. Your evidence does not say it goes global. We have other things. Your case. You have fumbled the bag on C1. You've conceded the deterrence by punishment argument, which says that even if the U.S. is not in the region, we have deterrence by punishment. We tell China we will come back and enforce on them even if we do leave the region. And we do things like sanction, increase allied cooperation. This is turn on defense in both of your arguments. You one concede that it means there's no aggression, i.e. China will not aggress, but you think the U.S. should come back and beat them, which is your link, which means that there's no perception of the market argument or deterrence argument because China does not invade in both worlds. It's drop defense. C2. You can see that Trump's on this argument. The fact that he's unpredictable means that the market will inevitably crash. You just say that it's not about the military, but you can see that Trump historically pulls out of alliances and hurts markets and is more destabilizing countries, which means the perception exists regardless. Your link is terminally non-unique.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can we take the first question?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
You go.
Let's talk about, I guess you're weighing, right? So, what's the weighing on the economy?
One is a try or die. If we win recession now, that means the only risk of solvency is us.
Sure.
Two, we co-opt all of your perception because you've conceded that consumers don't take time to adjust the policies they can do while we're talking about it. And our evidence, fair enough, link we're going for is about perceptual investment, which has nothing to do with the policy itself. And then third, it's that our recession is far more worse.
Wait, so you have to stop a recession, right? To stop a recession,
Yeah.
that takes time, no? To build up the semiconductor industry?
You can see that it's a recession coming now, and that our link to solve for it is perceptual. Like, our evidence is very clear that the breakdown on debt So the reason why that's uniquely a problem now is because you can see the evidence that indicates that businesses were able to borrow pretty freely during COVID, but after COVID, when they're cutting interest rates, it becomes harder to borrow money, and they have to pay $2.5 trillion in bonds. The recession is coming now, and you can see that the only way to avert it is our argument.
Let me ask you.
If you want to read new defense to it.
Let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
Which piece of evidence says that as soon as they see this investment or the military pullout, they invest, right? Like as soon as
the evidence does exist.
Sure. Just find it. And
Question though.
yeah, I mean,
In the meantime,
Wait, just confirm y'all drop your UVs, right?
Yeah, we're not good.
all right.
I guess we can talk about your econ.
Sure.
What happened to Taiwanese tech stocks whenever Trump came into office?
So you dropped that there's growth high now. That was not
No,
responded to.
but your evidence does not factor in the Trump presidency.
Well, yeah, it does.
Reading your mind, it does.
Well,
It doesn't say it, but it's
yeah,
past
it's like
the
it's
date.
saying it's going
So,
up.
I mean, like
Like it's like oh,
that
even
wasn't.
though
That
it's-
was
yeah.
also not responded to after
Just
summary.
say-
Like
you say your evidence says it talks about Trump, and I asked to read a line. You say wait,
no, we just say our uniqueness
yeah.
disproves your response. Like
Yeah, like yeah.
But your uniqueness is not
Because like no, okay,
this is after the date.
clear, Rito's frontlining is just our argument's perceptual, and you just don't respond to
No,
any
listen.
of the defense.
Like, if you say that Trump's rhetoric is going to cause our impact, and the fact that Trump said all the things, and the economy still went up, proves it doesn't have that big of an effect.
And the fact that this wasn't
Your
said in summary,
entire
It was.
means that
that's literally what I said.
You said it's perceptual.
No,
Like,
that's
the
not
reason it's
what I said.
perceptual is an
Wait,
excuse to
that's-
not warrant
that's not what I
arguments.
said.
Lucky I did too, just because you did all the work. for me.
I literally directly read the uniqueness
But this
evidence.
wasn't my question. My question
Yeah.
was in 2016 when Trump came into office, what happened to Taiwanese tech stocks?
To Taiwanese tech stocks?
That's my question.
No, right? Like, you can say they went down or not, right?
I'm saying that.
I know, you can say that, right?
What happened
But,
to
like-
tech stocks? That's my question.
He's telling you. Like, why don't you ask
I'm
him?
telling
Yeah, he's telling you,
Oh,
right?
wait, so they went down.
Yeah, I mean,
Do
you
you want me to read that line real quick that you asked for?
Sure, you can read it.
Quote, and this is historical analysis, U.S. policymakers worried that the U.S. would lose access to semiconductors, preemptively turn to industrial policy. It gives examples at the bottom. So the CHIPS Act is insufficient because we're still dependent on Taiwan, and that the U.S. could supplement by pursuing regulatory changes. It gives examples of subsidies, tax breaks.
Okay, I don't think you're reading lines. I think you're just explaining your evidence.
No, I read lines. Like, if you don't want to...
You read lines, but you continued explaining. And I still don't see where investors pull out, but...
If you don't want to follow my reading, then...
all right. It's going to start on our case. Go to weighing, their weighing, all the weighing, and then their case. Is everybody good to go? Extend markets will go for the perceptual investor like curly Taiwan's economy and semiconductor industry growing stronger once he Blanchard finds a military supports kid market comments playing out Taiwan cause markets to react immediately. Investors to sell holdings massive fear of conflict, the result of worldwide economic decline from delays in semiconductor production, and when see what I call finds in such a scenario results in conflict over resources that go nuclear resulting in extinction through famine. They have two responses. One, they say deterrence by punishment responds. No, they can see the link is perceptual. China doesn't have to actually invade, but rather the investors are going to pull out immediately because they think that there's going to be any instability because U.S. military is no longer in the region. That was dropped. Then they talk about Trump, but once again they drop R uniqueness 1NC Lee, which post-states and finds that the economy is growing, so clearly Trump does not matter. And secondly, they drop the 1NC Johnson evidence. What Regional says that the military is uniquely key. The reason why is that's what investors think matters. So some Taiwan rhetoric or Trump rhetoric definitely isn't as important. We have evidence of the question. They don't. We're definitely winning this argument. Here's why it weighs. Always in time frame. Our link is perceptual means it happens in near immediate because as soon as investors believe the market will shift, they plot of semiconductors. Whereas it takes time for the U.S. pass policies in semiconductors and build the industry, which means their market crashes before that. And we outweigh on time frame. They can see the time frame weighing on diplomacy. This was dropped since rebuttal. It takes time before we enter meaningful talks with China because they'd be skeptical of diplomacy of the U.S. when we are undergoing a leadership change because they're afraid of policy switching rapidly. Dropped means they are not winning the diplomacy time frame argument. On the economy argument, remember, passing policy through political debate takes time. That's dropped, and it means investment takes time. They can see the warrant that the public isn't salient to policies immediately because they have to grasp information. Obviously, it's not right away happening. Anytime we pass a policy, it takes time for news outlets to get out, etc. All of which was in rebuttal, which means they are not winning the time from here. Also, uniqueness does not say the recession happens immediately. It takes time, so uniqueness is not happening immediately. None of the uniqueness says that. And triad isn't weighing. There's always a chance of no recession, so you don't vote of triad on their case. First, in diplomacy, the time frame weighing just zeroes the case anyway, but on economy, we'll go for the Rugerber evidence. The Rugerber evidence says that Powell believes the economy will accelerate in 2025, which means it is not just in 2024 with Trump, it's not just what's happening now. If the economy will accelerate in the future, our evidence postdates theirs by 2 months, which means clearly current voter perceptions have shifted and the economy and uniqueness debate have shifted. Also means it's not a triad for their case. Look, big picture, we are definitely winning the time for debate. Warrants were dropped since rebuttal. We are winning a risk of our case because the perceptual link was dropped. The uniqueness is definitely a wash on their case. Ours postdates and it's more specific.
Actually, the weighing will be like after I go through each argument, so I'll go for C2, C3, 1.
Sorry, say that again?
It'll be our case, their case. When I'm on our case, I'll do the weighing. Going for arms control, you can see no co-op now because the U.S. and China are fighting over Taiwan. Presence from key means China's biggest issue goes away with, which is important because both sides want to cooperate. That's key to increase cooperation via hotlines, announcing tests, etc., which solves the internal linkage war because two sides just cooperate. They just say they win on time frame. Yes, they may cause an economic crash, but their war does not happen instantly or before the regime change. They have never cited that. Look at their impact evidence. It says great power war. So if we win U.S.-China diplomacy, we solve for their internal link scenario. So there's no nuclear war on their house, and the only risk of extinction ever happening is in their world because the only chance of nuclear war is if we don't have cooperation. We win the round on diplomacy. The time frame was about their link, but not their impact triggering. We will also go for the uniqueness on recession. They just say Powell thinks everything is fine. They've conceded every single warrant why Powell is wrong. And they've conceded the Altus evidence, which even if it is older, it's a predictive analysis into the future that the economy won't be good because businesses have to pay back $2.5 trillion in debt, and that consumers think that a recession is going to happen, so they cut back on spending, which are all things their Powell evidence doesn't account for. They can't just say Powell is right without warranting it. We are clearly winning this recession now scenario, which means if we win our link, we also win the round. Our link is easy. Whenever you affirm the resolution, we trigger more investment into the semiconductor industry because investors get scared that we'll lose access to semiconductors from Taiwan, which is a good thing because investment will fuel economic growth. It creates more jobs, solving for the recession that we talked about. At the end of the round, their only response is that it's not really resolutional. Yes, it is because investors get scared we lose access to it. They're scared they could lose access to it. On the way, their response to Tri-Dye is really bad. They say there's always a chance of recession not happening. No, they had to prove a reason why it wouldn't happen. They've conceded the warrant that recession is inevitable in the SQO right now, which means it is a try or die. Even if their argument happens marginally faster, it doesn't matter because it's likely terminally not unique. The only risk of solvency is in the act, so try or die functionally does up-layer the time frame weight. Our argument also just matches their time frame weight because it's perceptual. We don't have the policy doesn't have to be passed because investors think we lose access to it, so they preemptively increase investment. We also don't have to build up the industry either. All we have to do is just invest in there. All we have to do is just invest to create jobs, which means our link is perceptual. Time frame is a wash. You vote on the try or die, or you just vote on diplomacy solves your internal link scenario. Either way, it's an app ballot.
There, I got